What's going on, people? It's Mr. Dore back again with another podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, this is another special podcast, people. Because as you know, today, Nottingham Forest announced the management of Sean Dyche, ex-Burnley manager, ex-Everton as well. And now he's back at the famous City Ground. Please, if you want to get involved with all the questions, please do. As well, massive shout out to my sponsors, Alan Hollis and Far and Wide. Again, appreciate for sponsoring my channel. I don't know where he's gone, but yeah, I'm so excited. People in the comments, how are you feeling about this? And I was saying to before we started, last time I had Glenn and Des on, we had Steve Cooper as manager, and you know the rest is history. And I thought I'd get these two on again. I don't know where Des has gone, but we're going to give massive shout out to Glenn as well. How you doing, Glenn?
Yeah, really well. Sorry it's been so long since I've last been on, Dore, but it is really a lovely way of,
You've been a busy person,
of
Glenn.
coming back on. Say again?
You're a busy person. You're a busy person.
I am. But I couldn't not answer the bat signal that went up about Dyche and particularly Woan and Stone. It's been a really busy time at work, so it's been quite nice to have a few days off, and it just fallen in the start of a couple of weeks off for me, which is nice. I'm coming up to Porto as well on Thursday, so can't wait. And was at the match on Saturday as well. We're not going to talk about that now, but looking ahead and looking forward to everybody's views, and particularly what Dan's got to say about our new manager.
Yeah. Next door, like I said, Des, before you remember the stream we did, Des, with me, you, and Glenn, Steve Cooper. I thought I'd get the band back for this one. But how are you, Des? You okay?
I'm good. I had a few sound issues there, as well as chucking my tea down me. But I'm here. I'm raring to go. Looking forward to the next 8 games at least.
But like I said, big shout out to Des. Like I said, as everyone knows, if you follow Des on social media, please follow like Des and Glenn as well. But we've got to do a special guest. We've got to get him back on, man. And the man himself, Dan, from Turf Moor House. Like I said, Sean Dyche was the Burnley manager, and you know about Dyche. He was there for years. So we thought we'd get the main man in. But how are you, Dan? Hope you're well.
Yeah. Now that we're on camera, I'm a lot better.
He had a little rant. He had to get all his rant out before he come on, but now he's let it all out.
All I've got is nice things to say going forward from this point. So to be honest, I can't be angry.
Oh, but like I said, people, Dan's got a YouTube channel called Turf Moor House. If you can, it's in the description. Make sure you do subscribe to his channel. Right, before we do, we're going to go through the comments are flying in left, right, centre, because if you've been under the rock, the man Sean Dyche is now Nottingham Forest manager. But I thought I'll rub it in. My legend, the man himself. This is why I got to mention to Des and Glenn. Glenn, who's your favourite Forest player in the 90s? Steve Stone, Ian Woan, anyone of them?
Moore for me.
Who?
Colin
Moore. Des?
Pierce.
Oh, I've got to see Ian Woan, but I don't want to rub it in because I do speak to Ian Woan. I texted this morning. I said to him, "Hope you do well." And he messaged me. I can't believe I'm still buzzing. The man himself, my favorite player of all time, messaged me. So Ian Woan, I do appreciate it a lot. Like I said, I'm going to go through this for messages. Dore's making hot chocolate. I got my Oasis, so I've not got a hot chocolate this time. Alan, where's my 50? I'll send it. Alan. Don't worry about it. I'll send it. Justin, come on, you Reds. Bring on Porto. We are going to talk about that end of the show. True Red. Evening Reds. Colin, hope you are. How you doing, my friend? If you want to be a member, like Colin, and as well, this guy, David, you're handsome. You are very handsome, David. We need words, David. We need words about this as well. But shout out to David as well. Stefan, I think this is Des' mate. Good evening, legends and Des. Yes, see what I mean? Good evening, Des. You can't say good evening to me and Glenn and Dan. Come on, Stefan. But it's actually a legend as well. Kieran as well. Super Glenn, Super Des, Super Burnley fan. We have a super guy. Listen to me. I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I'm so excited. I'm excited for our appointment. Right. Who should we start with? Should we start with Des or Glenn, or should we start with Dan? No, you know what? Let me start with Forest lads. Let me start with you, Glenn. Dyche. Are you excited about this one, Glenn?
Someone asked me this morning, actually, Dore. He's Chelsea fan who writes for Reuters, so he's got a slightly different viewpoint on how Dyche has done elsewhere. I'll talk about that later. Excited a bit, but what I've got to say, I'll caveat that with yes, I am, but as a compromise to the last manager, which obviously was Nuno, because I've been asleep for the last 8 weeks. Nothing else has happened since Nuno, has it? So beyond Nuno, I'm very pragmatic about what's going to happen, and ultimately, yeah, I think it's the best option for what we've got. Excited, I'm developing an excitement about Thursday night, and I'm developing an excitement every time I hear Dyche speak about his memories of the club and the history that he's obviously been part of and has seen. And as a local neighbour, obviously seeing how the club has developed, and when he was out of work, when he came and was guests and watched, and then saw the way that the team developed and reacted to Stone and Woan and him being there today. So yeah, I'm excited, but yeah, it's I'm looking at this in a whole different area in terms of who we could have got at this point. And the way Dyche obviously plays is far similar. No, Kev, I'm not. Far similar to the way that we've been used to playing and the success we've had in that area. So excited in that it's more like what we've had in the last sort of 3 years and the success we've had in the last 18 months. So yeah, obviously Dan will know a lot more about the way he plays and way he sets teams up. But obviously his number one priority right now is to keep us in the Premier League, and he seems to be the best sort of coach that's available, and also has those connections with the club, which gives him that little added element of that cherry on the cake for me, that's going to bring a connection with the fans, which is missed, and he talked about so much today, and also the way that he wants the team to play in terms of those fundamentals. What you haven't mentioned, Dore, is what Ian Woan said in response to your message, and it was a really honest, candid kind of, obviously what they're all aware of what they need to do and what their job role is, and it's not going to be an easy process. But I think, to summarise, excitement, yes. I think as a football fan and a coach, I think he's the best man for the job in this certain situation. And yeah, I'm going to be, as I was with Nuno and Steve Cooper and Sabri and everybody since, behind him, cheering him on Thursday night. And yeah, I do hope that he's successful, because there's not really much other option, is there? It's got to be. It's got to be successful.
100%. Dad, are you excited with this choice? How are you feeling about it?
I am, yeah. Do you know, one word we used when Steve Cooper come in, and I'm surprised Glenn didn't reel it off, was cautiously optimistic. You know, and I think we can only be that right now because of everything that's happened in the last over the last 8 games, with a manager who promised attacking football and taking us to a different level and winning trophies and all these things. Do you know, that nonsense is not what this club is built on, is it? Do you know, it's built on a bit of sort of pragmatism over the last couple of years. You know, when everything's going a bit crazy behind the scenes and all that, you know, Nuno was the steady head behind it all. Do you know, the one who brought us all back down to earth. So like Glenn says, I think whilst people might look at Dyche and think, you know, that's a bit dull, or this is the type of football he plays, or this is what's going to happen, you know, we just need that sort of level head, somebody who knows the club. You've seen the way the club have gone to town on Woan and Stone, and the romance behind that side of it today. I said to you on Sunday, Dore, when I was last on, what I want is, if he's coming in, I want the club to do exactly that. You know, in the build up to Porto, because all I want is to get back to is pre Mitchell and pre Betis. You know, when the season was still alive and everybody was still excited, because they was. I've never seen build up to games like that. You know, I've never experienced it, and then for it to be sort of ripped from under our feet as quickly as it's kind of come to us over the last couple of years, you know, it just felt like wow, why did that happen? And of course, we know why it happened, because the last manager who became an experiment didn't work. The team doesn't suit him. I think Dyche has got a tough job, as has been alluded to with the text messages and things that have been said already. He's got a really tough job. It's not easy to turn a team around quickly, but he's proven before he can work with a team in a difficult situation. I don't think he'll get massive amounts of time if it doesn't work, personally, because that's just the way it is. I joked there about 8 games, and somebody said on the TV the other day, is that the benchmark now? If he doesn't win in 8 games, is he going to get the sack? And I guess he probably would, with the way it's going. So I don't think that'll happen. I don't think we can be much worse, And we all know that this team's built on a solid defence, and that suits the manager for a start. But looking at some of the videos today, there's a lot more sort of excitement on the training ground, a lot more spirit about it. And I know they can sort of portray these things in a certain way, but it's just got that feel again, isn't it? I'm not buying too much into the fact that Dyche loves Nottingham. Of course he does, we all do. But I'm not buying too much into that, apart from the fact it gives us that bit of familiarity. And I think that's what's been missing at the club, especially Ange doing his best to sort of take that away from us a little bit by making it about him and Spursy and, being a winner and trophies, Let's prove a point before we get there, and I think Dyche is the type of manager who won't run before he can walk, and especially in this situation. So yes, really, as time goes on and the more I see, the interviews are coming out and all these videos, I'm getting really excited for the game again on Thursday, and that's what it's about, isn't it? We can't do much sometimes about who's the manager, who's this, who's that, what happens on the pitch, but all we can do is get excited beforehand, and if it goes well, get excited after, and hopefully we can get back into this season the way we thought we were going to start it and carry on.
100%. I've had to get the man himself, Dan, in, because as you know, Dyche was at Burnley, and the question, Dan, I want to ask: do you think Dyche is the right man for Forest? Because this is no like disrespect to Burnley, because you didn't have much money to spend when he was there, but now he's coming to Forest with like probably £250 million on players. Do you think? And this is a question like Dan Davis put in the panel, like talk about players. Do you think these players will fit into Dyche?
I'd say some of them will, some of them won't. I mean, I've seen it all over social media already that people are saying Chris Wood up top and 2 big physical centre backs. It's just written for Sean Dyche. The thing you've got is you've got a man who clearly loves being around the place, whether that be from a fan perspective as well as a manager. So he's going to have always been analysing, even as a gaffer, but not the gaffer. When he's been sat in the stands, he's going to have already been looking at what issues you've been facing. And the one thing that pained me was seeing the picture of the staff together.
It was amazing. I loved it.
Storm Mercer, Billy Mercer. What I mean, that guy is.
He was at Forest, Do you know he was at Forest?
Yeah, went on loan and didn't play a game. But no, he's what a man, and what wonders he did for our keeper unit as well. Tony Laughlin again is another one that
he was at Sunderland with Roy Keane, wasn't he? He's Roy Keane's best mate. Des said it this morning.
Yeah, so I just think it's the perfect appointment. I think from the outside, people are thinking a manager like Dyche, does it work well with Mr. Marinakis? That's you've got 2 hotheads really that they're either on the same page or that's it. So that's the big question, is whether Dyche is willing to adapt to the fact that Mr. Marinakis calls the shots, essentially. Dyche is going to play his way, and if he has to play his way, the one thing, what, I'm going to call it, because it was only a while ago, those blue crap that got beat by Alternate, that guys don't like, beginning with L. They slated me for saying that Dyche would have been a perfect manager for someone like them. what they need to realize, what you need to realize is this is a results game. It's a results business, and it doesn't matter how you set up. I know someone put in the chat that it was Luke actually that said, "My fear is Dyche plays like he did at Burnley, 4-4-2, pump it long." But it got results. It got European football. It got us out of the mire quite a bit. It's not always about playing. Oh, they've played the right way. Yeah, but you got beat 3-0. Plain and simple, it's a results business. I think Dyche will do that. I've just looked at your next couple of games, in the Prem, Bournemouth, United, Liverpool, and Leeds. I think
We'll win Liverpool away. We'll win Liverpool away. I'm not worried.
Easy. But no,
I don't know if you know, we've already beat him last season, so I just thought I'd tell you that.
Yeah. Well, that's 3 points already, then, mate, isn't it? No, I think as a man manager, he's also going to get the best out of this crop of players. Sometimes you can have, and I think he had it at Everton. He had one or two in there that came with a bit of a biggish ego, and he knocked him down a peg. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think he is going to set a benchmark and a precedent that on a match day, I don't want none of this headphones crap. I want you to walk in, say hello to the fans. I want it. He's got that sort of Sir Alex feel about him in terms of his presence. But yeah, he's got that tactical knowledge of Sam Allardyce. How do you word it? I can't fault the man for what he did for us, and he didn't get a fair crack of the whip. When Alan Pace came in, he didn't get a chance to spend some money and see where it went. The downside is, does he get rid of every player that's of foreign descent and brings in his Brexit style football, or let's see what he brings. But I think you've got a very good base there in that five in the with Stone, Laughlin, Woan, Billy Mercer, and himself. They called the famous five for a reason. Enid Blyton once said, so why can it not work at Forest?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Touching on that point you made about how his reaction or how his relationship with the owner is going to be. What was it like at Burnley for him?
I think he realised he had to work within tight constraints, especially under Mark Garlick. It was tight enough to part with Wild Garlic, honestly. He were that bad. He were really bad. He was tight as a crab's arse. But you knew that his priority was to sustain the club for the next 10 years. That's one thing Sean Dyche did with Burnley. Burnley wouldn't be where they are now. I'll say this hand on heart. Burnley would not be where they are now without Sean Dyche. We've now got an academy. We were literally getting changed in porter cabins. He's come in, he changed everything in the background as well. So he's not just dealing with things on the pitch, he's dealing with stuff off it. And as soon as you can build that mentality, because people can trust you with what's going on behind the scenes as well as on the pitch, I think everyone then buys into that. And I just think he's got that. He'll probably take the wheel that we had, in training at Burnley, where, if you're late for training, you have to lie down in the River Calder for 10 minutes and stuff like that. That's it. Go for a swim in the Trent. You're done for. So I'm looking forward to his sort of comical ways. He has got a dry sense of humour, but I think people will get him eventually.
Okay. Cheers.
The question I want to say, even though Des or Glenn, there's so much pressure, and like I said, all the PR that's happened today with we've seen Stoney, Woney, and that, and it's good to see. And do you think there's still going to be pressure anyway, because these next games are massive, like Porto, Bournemouth, Man U, and that. Do you think there's going to be we've got to be on him now, backing, because imagine losing 4-0 on Thursday. I don't want to lose 4-0, but he's always going to have that support from us, because he's been there. You know what the atmosphere like. You know what Nottingham's like. He's got to we've got to win on Thursday, just to make I'm here to prove a point now. And
I think what you say basically there, Dore, you're saying that he's got a bit of credit. He's
Yeah.
a slight advantage on Ange, because we do know him, do you know, and we do know him because he does frequent the area, do you know. He gets involved in the past. He's been involved with fans, you know, and talking to them locally, you know, supporting the club. He's made no bones about that. But again, the Premier League's a tough beast, isn't it? You know, if or football full stop these days. If he does get that 4-0 defeat, he's on the back foot. Where he's possibly got the slight advantage again on Ange is Ange went into a difficult situation, 4 away games, and you know all this kind of thing. All these things we've already spoke about. But looking at Dyche, he's got a home game, solid chance to really put a marker down. And you know what? You know football's all about momentum. You know, so if he doesn't get beat 4-0, that's a bit extreme. But if even if we got beat 1-0 maybe, or we got a draw or whatever, we could start working off the back of that. You know, where we look at the moment, we look like we're going to get beat 3-4-0 every week. You know, and even by teams that probably are nowhere near technically as good as Porto. But if we get something out of that game, you know, then we've got another game at the weekend where it's tough. You know, we know again it's going to be a really, really hard game. But he'll fight and battle, and the players will be doing that, and that's where I think he's going to get people buying in. You know, there's going to be a lot of emphasis back on the defence. You know, because we just know that's a given with Sean Dyche, and I've said it already, and I've said it lots of times on your podcast in the last couple of weeks, that this team is built on a solid defence. Why would somebody come in and rip all the foundations out? The comment in your text message, back to basics, you know, that's exactly what it means. We're going back to making sure we're difficult to beat. You know, we've got two of the best centre halves in the league. Let's not mess about that. You know, there's not many better. And what we saw last year, you know, we wouldn't have swapped them for anyone, not even Arsenal's. I know that's a bit extreme, but that's how it felt. It felt like we was all in this, you know, and we got the best we can get, and we were fighting. Yes, there is issues, you know. There's issues at fullback, and there's issues in the midfield at times, and who's going to play up front. But again, if we start building from a solid foundation, you know, keeping clean sheets, you know, soaking up the pressure like we did. We have got that attacking talent. You know, there is flair players out there. You get the ball into them at the right times in the right areas, rather than being a bit gung-ho. You know, and don't forget, Stoney and Woan was attacking players themselves. They might know a bit about this, and they were really good ones as well. Stoney played for England, of course, and Woan could have and should have at times.
He should have. That's what upset me. He should have. I mean, he played one game, didn't he? Was it one game he played?
But that's why they're with him, isn't it? Because look, that team of 5 is made up of so many different components, isn't it? Lots of experience in different areas, you know, from the goalkeeper to the centre back in Dyche himself, and then the forward thinking players. You know, so I just think that's exactly what they'll do. They'll take it back to basics. Sometimes it might not be pretty. You know, we went to Everton last year, and I'm excited about Dyche, but Everton's performance against us last year was absolutely dire, you know, and if I'm being completely honest, I thought, Jesus, you know, they were just pumping it long. But he's working with a better pool of players, isn't he? A more solid, a more, and look, they are when they're on the game, you know, when they're motivated, when they've got the belief in themselves. And you can just see over the last couple of games, the most shocking aspect of what happened under Ange was the belief had just drained out of him. This guy, you know, he's going to be loud, he's going to be brash, but he's not going to be as arrogant on the training pitch. You know, he's not going to insist that players do things that they can't do. He'll want them to do all the good things that they can do. You know, and that's the difference, isn't it? He's not asking them to reinvent the wheel. He's asking them to be good at what they're good at. And that's where we'll start building this solid foundation, I believe. Do you know, I get the feeling Thursday might be something like a boring 0-0, you know. But right now, you probably take it, you know. And if you could get a boring 0-0 against Bournemouth right now, you take it, wouldn't you? You know, and then you start looking at the fixtures like Leeds, you know, and other games where he's probably going to start being a bit more expansive, you know, going to start reintroducing some of these players that seem to have disappeared from the squad. You know, because we had the pleasure once of listening to Woan as well, sharing his company for a couple of hours. And
That
he
was
was telling
amazing.
us,
Amazing that was.
he was talking. What really sort of surprised me in that conversation was he was talking about Maxwell Cornet at the time and how excited they all were about him. He wasn't a big odd centre back. They were raving about this beast going forward, and how good he was for Burnley and how what a top player he was. So again, it's not all defence, but it is the solid foundations that Sean Dyche will build his teams from, and it's the solid foundations that Nuno built this Forest squad on the back of. And that was the mistake in the last appointment. I'm not sure we'd have been that happy with Sean Dyche following Nuno, but having seen it the way it's gone, now you just go, yes, that's exactly what we need. That is exactly what we need. He's available. He's got massive Forest connections. He brings that excitement, and he brings that pragmatism that this team is renowned for over the last couple of seasons.
You bit the nail on the head there. I think as well that what people are saying in the chat, poor appointment, welcome back to the Championship, etc., etc. But you've got to accept what's now. And I think if Sean Dyche is going to build on that Nuno stability of having that solid back line, you then work forward, get the fundamentals right, get the basics right. Like I said, but the best thing about this is how much higher caliber players you have in your squad. You have game changers. You have people that if you can get in and around it, okay, you have 30% possession in a game. It's not been pretty, like Des says. But if you get that one sniff a goal and you take advantage of it, has it worked? Of course it has. That's all it takes. And you've got the sort of players to do that. We're seeing, we're all seeing, the world is seeing what Elliot Anderson can do now on the world stage. That's pushed his numbers through the roof. So, Morgan Gibbs-White, let's see what he can do under Sean Dyche as well. I just think these sort of players people are gonna be like, oh, he's gonna drain them of what they've got. He's gonna do this, that, and the other. But he didn't. Let's not forget we had at Burnley, we had the same team for probably 7 or 8 years. And there were some people in our fan base going, well, we achieved Europe last season. Why aren't we achieving it again? Because that's not how it works. Everyone has a ceiling, etc., etc. But I just think Dyche is the sort of pragmatic manager that will let's not call spade a spade right now. Get you out the shit.
Yeah. And there's a question. I'm gonna ask you, Glenn. Like, we had Steve Cooper who played low block football, and everyone moaned about him. Nuno didn't play much possessive football. We brought in a manager who didn't really do much, and now we brought someone again who can. We need, like I said, what Dan said, we need to sort the defense out. I know there's a few Forest fans moaned about. I'm not saying everyone, like 5%, moaned about, oh, why are we getting a manager who plays defensive football? Who's right, Glenn? Do you think we should have got brought in a more attacking football, or he's right? Is Sean Dyche the right one going forward?
I believe at the moment Sean Dyche is the right one. He's not Mr. Perfect, but he's Mr. Right, but he's the best right now, I guess, in that ilk. We've brought in attacking players, and an attacking-minded manager hadn't played them or hadn't involved them in the last sort of 2 games or so. I think he was probably fighting for his life and wanted to shore things up a little bit, playing a back 5, one of which was a player that wasn't particularly suited in that position. And obviously what Dyche may well do, and I've read and seen lots of things in the last sort of 3 or 4 days, particularly since his name was higher up the list, about 4-4-2, whack it at the big guy. And I think what you were saying, Dan, Chris Wood is going to love that sort of situation. Taiwo, who played relatively well for 40 minutes on Saturday, is going to love holding that ball up and passing it on. And certainly what we've seen in the clips in training today, that's what they were looking at. They were looking at those second balls and what we could do with those in front of goal. And it was all led by Steve Stone, who I'm hoping lots of the Portuguese-speaking guys understand what he's saying. But certainly would it have been a better situation having a Marco Silva? Potentially. Now, we can't have a situation now, although he will be available in the summer, to have that manager coming in at this stage. And it is the point now with 34 games or 32 games or whatever to go, that we've not got 30 games to go, that we've not got the time necessarily, even though there's 90 points available, to mess around anymore with anybody else. We've just got to make sure that, and certainly from the message that's coming out in the press release that was released as he was announced, the focus is a lot more about his attributes and less so about Ange and winning trophies. It's all about maintaining and bringing him in for the player that he was. Injury obviously cut that career a little bit short, and the philosophies that he's developed since he's become a coach. Dan would know, and I've seen some comments in the chat from others about Everton fans and how he would react to going 1-0 down, but we don't know until we get the situation. It's Des, and I'm going to borrow your situation, a horse for a course. He's got a squad which is very, very different to anywhere else that he's coached in certain areas, although we've still got defensive solidity that over the last sort of 8 games has dwindled quite a lot. And I really do hope that that's the first thing that he works on, is becoming more and more difficult to beat, certainly in set pieces and leaking goals that don't even give ourselves a chance. So an interesting, I think it was on Monday Night Football, about the stats that Ange had and how high in the league we were in terms of touches in the final third, chances in front of goal, and all these. Had they scored a couple, who knows what would have happened, but we were still leaking too many. So for Ange to go and for Sean Dyche to come in is a positive move. For Sean Dyche to come in with the team that he's got behind him is a really positive move. There's so much optimism and warm glows about and cheers, Kevin. And warm positivity coming from Forest fans at the moment, until we see on Thursday exactly who he puts out and how we get on against Bournemouth. We don't really know whether it's going to be, a return to type. Ellie talked with Sky Sports this morning about the insult that it is that he's expected to play exactly the same formation, exactly the same way, and is going to be one of these very fit to type coaches. I do hope that's not the case. And he comes in with utilising, although it's going to be relatively short, utilising the strengths that we've got in our team going forward. The midfielders that we've mentioned, Dan, thank you, Anderson, is someone that we really want to hold on to, but we fear that by the end of the season he's going to go. And we want to be in a situation where we're high enough in the league to get a decent price for him and offer someone else an opportunity. If we're down in those places that some of the other guys have mentioned that Dyche is likely to bring our club, then we're going to be in strife in more ways than one. Anderson is going to be going for less and less than we hoped he would go for. The optimism that I have is based on him being the best guy that's available at the time, and also has that no nonsense approach to the way we need to play, certainly in the next 15 league games, and anything else in the cup and the Europa League. We're still in the FA Cup, by the way, guys, don't forget. Any other situation where we're going to be, and let's see. I'm going to go in, as Dore says, optimistic and hopeful and supporting all of these coaches. I've just got a feeling that this one might be a little bit special compared to some of the others we've had recently.
It's about reinstalling that confidence back. And I think, in fact, Red Dog's just said it as well. More consistent confidence back. That's what's needed.
That's what he said to Colin
Jay said there, well, J. Yeah, I'm going to say that many J's, because that comment's above saying. But even the one before that, anyone is better than Dyche. And I'm just, okay, so you'd have been happy with a Graham Potter coming in. You'd have been happy with someone like that. If you didn't go to Sweden, you'd have been happy with someone like that.
No.
And then it goes tits up again. And then you're trying to chase that. Well, no, this is the way we're going to play. You have to be, like everybody said, right now, real about the situation that you're in. And okay, it's only 9 games in, but solidify what you've got right now and build. Not Rome wasn't built in a day. That's the one thing that it's the most quoted saying possibly out there. And you need to just get those fundamentals spot on. all I'm going to say is that it's the first time you've been back in European competition for so many years. And how many clubs have we seen having to try and battle the strength of the Premier League against a very high, reputable cup competition, and these teams have struggled to find that balance. You know, it's not just Forest. We had it with Europe. We ended up going down. Newcastle had it.
Did you lose to Olympiacos, Dan? Was it Olympiacos you lost to? It was, wasn't it? It was Olympiacos.
Yes, it was. Don't get me started.
I was thinking, who did Burnley play? It was Olympiacos.
Yes.
Sorry.
To be fair, we
Very
should have
well
beat
done,
them. We should have
today.
beat them in the second leg at the turf.
Was Man Lacazette there?
Yeah, he was, because he
Oh, sorry.
spat his dummy out at half time at Olympiacos and went into the referee's room and said,
I've heard this story. I've heard this story. Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
look,
no, wait, Dan. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Of course,
Because
allegedly.
I don't want Mr. Marinakis Jr. watching this and saying, yeah, he was late. So please don't put allegedly.
Marinakis has gone up in my estimation appointing someone like Dyche. Like I say, I understand people's concerns, but are these people also going to eat their hat when it's, when the going actually gets going and there's nothing to say, because it's like, oh, maybe we have turned a corner. Yeah, you've turned a corner because you've gone for a manager that's going to get it, sorted out. Basically, there's programs on TV where dogs misbehave and someone comes in, has to sort out that dog's behavior. And right now, all you're doing is giving dogs abuse, and you've not even seen what the man can do yet.
There's been a few. I'm not mentioning.
I would, I'll go back to the start of his appointment. I didn't want Dyche at Burnley when he was first appointed because he had no managerial experience. I thought
where was he before that?
He'd been, I think, in every single job apart from cleaner and kitchen staff at Watford.
Oh yeah.
So, other than that, he came in with a clean CV, and we gave him that opportunity and chance. And like I said, the fact that we went up, came down, questions of him potentially leaving. I just think that some fans need to be wary of, careful what you wish for. It's such a tough job, and the plethora of managers available these days as well is it's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be at all. So this is the perfect appointment. My only doubt is that will Mr. Marinakis and Dyche see eye to eye? They must have done in the conversations, clearly, but long term. The question I want to ask you guys about this, though, is that you gave Ange a 2-year contract, you've given Dyche a 2-year contract. Is that just what it takes to entice a manager in these days because they want a bit of stability? But is there any worry with you guys about it being a 2-year?
Go on, Des.
I'm not sure. I think the initial conversation, what we heard last week, was that they were going to employ him to the end of the season. But I'm sure Dyche backs himself to negotiate a better and longer deal, and thinks he can do a job over a longer period of time. And I guess that was probably, I don't know, I'm surmising, and that might have been what made it happen, made it longer to take him on in the first place. It might have been the delay over the weekend, because we can't see why Ange didn't go before the weekend. But it's one of those, isn't it? I always talk, Dan, on this podcast, some of that kind of stuff. I'm not being disrespectful to what you've asked, but it doesn't really matter, does it? It no. Does to the football club. It matters in terms of the contract and PSR and all these things these days. But the reality is, if he wins football matches, he'll keep his job, won't he? If he loses football matches, he'll get the sack. And that's, it doesn't matter whether he's on a 6-month or 6-year contract. It's one of those where, we can't do much about that. I always talk about how the only thing we can do is support a team the best we can and support the manager and the people in place. Sometimes you have to swallow that up just to sort of move away from that slightly. A lot of the guys in here in the chat, it's 50-50, I guess, but for and against. And I think we've just got to swallow it up now, and wait and see. The best thing about supporting football for me is is watching the process, enjoying the process. You know, and sometimes that process goes wrong, and a lot of the time for clubs like Burnley and clubs like Forest.
That was
you know,
one thing that Dyche always used to say, though: trust the process, trust what we're trying to do. Like I say, in long term, it worked. I mean, sort of on the back of that, you don't want to be seen as a Watford. You don't want to be seen as hiring and firing. You want stability, don't you? You want that, you know, where we can build on this year after year. And right now, last year you had great success, got narrowly missing out. And it's just, I don't understand people's fears. They should be, if anything, not thinking how high the ceiling is, but more, you know, let's get our feet off the ground to start with.
But what's your opinion, Glenn? What Dan said?
Yeah, I think Dawn hit the nail on the head, bless her. I think this is a really sensible, open viewpoint on a coach that we obviously seen for some time, particularly more so for me, weirdly, when he was Everton manager rather than when he was with you, Dan. But obviously the situation we're in means that he is, and his strengths as a coach and a man manager, by the sounds of it, he's got the ability to bring these players forward. Is an ideal situation. And sorry, I'm getting a bit gruff, excuse me.
Right.
The connection that he's already got with the fan base and the need to bring the fans back on board is a thing that I took from the interview he did today, Dan. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah, everything sounded very sentimental. That he sees the Trent end, like the old Trent end, the noise coming from there. I loved everything he said about that, because I'm not being, even as a non-Forest fan, I was sort of pumped that this guy, he knows the club, he gets the club. That is it. The A block, I think he mentioned, is still the A block, and all these sort of things. That for me screamed that this is a guy who will treat the club with respect, love the club for what it is, and hopefully he's also the sort of gaffer that's not going to look at, you know, he said, you know, it's not just about Clough, it's about people like Frank Clark as well and stuff like that. But he's also going to want to write his name alongside that folklore, and I think that's another thing that
he's got to
outdo
Nuno. He's got to outdo Nuno. That's the main.
But do you know what does it for me today? And it might be sentimental, it might be happy clappy nonsense, but you can. Dyche in the last couple of years, the old Everton thing, he's looked a bit grumpy, you know, post Burnley, it's looked a bit uncomfortable and not in the best place. And today he looks pride as punch. You know, it looks like he's got his dream job, and you want a manager in his dream job, you know, because he's going to give 150%, you know, every single day. And I'm not saying he hasn't elsewhere, and I'm not saying other managers don't, but we seen with Ange the grumpiness, the vibe. Do you know, the vibe was just crap. But you can see etched over Dyche's face today. You know, he's as proud as punch. The guys are in there. You know, with him, the ex-Forest legends are in there. You know, loving life as well, and that's what you need in this situation, isn't it? That's what you need to bring. Yes, there's tactics and things, but at the end of the day, football players win football matches. You know, players in form, players playing well, players on top of their game. And again, it's about Dyche getting the best from these players. You know, the defenders defending. You know, getting the ball out to these attacking players to do their thing. And it comes to this basic thing, but it's the vibe as well that he puts into it. If someone's telling you need to be doing this and you're not buying into it, you know, it's rubbish, isn't it? But why I mention the sort of smile across his face and these things, because he's going to take it all in. He's read the situation. He's read the room for years. You know, he's been reading the room because he knows Forest inside out. He talks to people who watch Forest every single weekend. You know, and I know that. I've seen that personally. So he brings that into the club and he starts talking to them and he starts inspiring them. You know, I'm big on positivity and inspiration, Dore. You know, all these things. You know, this is what makes us tick as human beings. And all we need to do with this team, people are talking about tactics and this and that. He's just got to fire them up. Just fire them up. Do you know, and when they're fired up and when they're doing what they're good at, do you know, when they're believing in a manager and believing in themselves more importantly, you know, you'll see the results start turning. You know, you'll see it start climbing up the league. And as I mentioned it before, momentum. You know, and what these guys seem to have walked in through the door with, rightly or wrongly, is a bit of momentum. You know, a bit of charisma, a bit of we want this. You know, I'm sure they know they've got a point to prove. You know, everybody's comparing Burnley and Dyche football and this and that. It don't matter, does it? Winning football matches is what's important. We'd win the Dyche way every single week of the season. You know, because and the owner would take that as well. I know there's been talk of, oh, we've got to go to this new level. No, the reality is the owner fell out with Nuno after the Leicester game. End of story. You know, that was the beginning of the end. You know, it wasn't about styles of football. It wasn't about this. It wasn't about that. It was about someone trying to sort of halt that rot that had already set in. The rot has firmly set in now, and you need somebody to dig you out of it. Somebody who's got the heart for it. And as we've seen with the last manager, he hadn't. You can already see with this one. And again, I'll come back to the smile across his face, the proudness in what he's doing. He's got the heart and he's got the fight. We know he's got the fight. That's Sean Dyche. That's the word. That's the word in a nutshell, fight. So we know he's got the fight for it. And now we know he's got the heart for it. You know, I think that's where he's going to, personally, that's where I think he can turn this football club around.
He said at Burnley that he was the proudest man in Proudsville, but I think Proudsville's become a city now that he's back at the city ground. It's true though. You know, people just saying stuff in the chat, and I'm looking. I'm just like, why the negativity? I really don't see it.
You know what it is, Dan? I'm so sorry to put in Dan. As Forest fans, like I said, we had one of the best seasons as a Forest fan in the Premier League, and yes, we slipped up at the end, but in hindsight, the whole season it was fantastic for us. And like we brought in attacking players who were good. And I think everyone's expectations again saying, "Oh, we can finish 7th again," and it was because of what Nuno did for us, and now of what's happened, and now because we brought in Dyche because of what he's done for, like if he kept Everton up like last season, and he sees them as a low block. And some Forest fans, and like people have an opinion, want crazy football, and now I've got Dyche, another low block guy, and some fans are not going to be happy about it. I mean, it is a bit childish sometimes, but like I said, everyone has an opinion. But
it's also going to be new for him though as well, Dore, because people are saying, yeah, but his Everton days, his Burnley days. He also worked with ex-players at Everton, you know, and I'm saying he's going. Yes, he's got an ex-Burnley player with Chris Wood, etc. But it was a Chris Wood that weren't really doing much at Leeds, stagnating at Leeds, and then also went to Burnley and turned into a Premier League player.
Love it, innit? Do you think Chris would love it?
I think so. Yeah, I think he was happy. He was scoring for Burnley in the way that we set up. We were, you know, I know Chris Wood at the time said he was comfortable, and that's why he went to Newcastle. But at the time, Newcastle had all big investment, and so I don't know whether that was just because Burnley and Newcastle were different parts of where they were at the time. But for me, I just think now it's a completely new ball game for him. New players that he has to try and get on his side, teach them his ways, what he knows. Let's just do the basics, get it right. And then anything from there we can build. Glenn said it earlier when we signed Maxwell Cornet, we were astonished because we'd not seen an attacking player before. You see a guy running into a pocket of space that usually people are like, what? And again, it's these little things that he did, these players that he brought in. People seem to think he was Brexit FC, but Stephen Defoe was a game changer. We didn't get to see the full extent of him, but I think Dyche has said it himself. Some of the players he has had and worked with and turned into internationals, you know, it might not just be about personal accolades or trophies in your cabinet. I think he's got things that he can hold true to himself. And I think it will stand Nottingham Forest good in the long run.
Before we do go, like I said, people, please do hit the like button and subscribe to New, and as well make sure everyone subscribe to Dan's channel as well, Turf Moor House, great channel. I was a bit
Appreciate
cheesed
it.
off. A bit cheesed off that we drawn 1-1 at your place, but that's a different.
You should have
story.
won. You should have won.
No. Yeah, your keeper was on form. He was.
No, but you should have. I still say it now that I was bored after 60 minutes because I just felt like it was a game that both sides should have been going at each other, and we were so defensive. It was almost like it was a must not lose for us, and it's like you 6-7 games in what you're playing at. So yeah, I thought you should. You should have gone at us a little bit more, and like I say, I think you had the chances to.
Right, that's before I leave. I said, there's no Glenn this. Like, we've got Dyche, we've got the legends Woan and Stone back. I just want to, I don't rub it in, but Ian was watching this stream for 10 minutes. I don't know if you want to know that he was watching this. He texted me. I put the stream on, and he did say he'll watch it. So thanks, Woan. Just thought I'd say that. Des, can we stay up, Des? And can we push on?
Of course we can stay up. We've got so much talent in the squad. You look at the players that look even out of form. Even when the team's out of form, look at the sought after players we've got in the team. Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't linked away because of this, and whatever people say about his performances, he's a top footballer. So is Anderson. So is Murillo. So is Sells. So is Milenkovic, all these Louise, when he comes in and gets a run in the team, hopefully that's one that does get a run, going forward. Nico Williams, I'd never say we're too good to go down because I was there the first time Forest fans churned that out, and it took us a long time to sort of get back as to a stabilised Premiership team, despite a couple of promotions. But of course, look, in terms of keeping us up, and this could come back and bite me on the arse, but it's not that difficult a job, is it? With all that talent, put a run of 3 or 4 games together, and I saw this thing that Dyche's teams can be a bit streaky. They can win 5 in a row and they can lose 5 in a row and that kind of thing. But 5 games in a row now, we take it. With a couple of defeats on the end of it, we definitely take that right now. So yeah, I don't think. Of course, it's a worrying situation, but I don't think we're quite in crisis just yet. 3 points massively closes us up to then the like we're sitting behind mid-table with 3 points on the board.
So the table's still quite wide open, really, isn't it?
And these teams, look, no disrespect to Burnley, and I don't want to ever dig it down or anything, but Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland, they've started brilliantly.
Our squad's nothing on your squad, though. I know what you're trying to say. Your squad should not be where it should be. Simple as exactly. That. Basing it on the squad list.
And what I think the other two, Leeds and particularly Sunderland, have done really, really well playing to their strengths, but they will fade. If you watch the games they play in, it's all about the first goal. And when they take 1 or 2 knocks, we know from the Steve Cooper era, when you start losing 1 or 2 of your first team, and we know now, with fullbacks. Olainer's gone and he makes such a difference to the team. You start losing 1 or 2 players, suspensions, injuries, you lose a game, you perhaps should have won. Confidence just dips that little bit. You can easily get into a 5-game losing streak. So I think what I'm getting to is those teams are going to come back towards us naturally. Even if we don't really set the world on fire this season, I think the way Sunderland play, they're going to get spanking before long. Look, I admire everything they do and the way they quickly break. But again, it's about that first goal and they'll come up against the side and it's how you cope with that. We had to take a few that first season back in the league and somehow Cooper kept us up, and if that's the case this time round, considering the situation we're in, we'd have to take it. We'd have to accept the situation and perhaps hope for something in the I was going to call it the UEFA Cup then, the Europa Cup, or the FA Cup, and see where we go from there. But I've got no doubts right now. I think we just it was an experiment that went wrong with Ange. Now we've gone and got a proper bona fide manager, whether you like him or not. He's got all the miles in the tank. You know, he's been round the block, done all these things. The reason I called Andrew Ford from day one to you, and you know it, I'm not just saying it now, was because I didn't see anything that justified him managing in the Premier League. Dyche's got 10, 12, 15 years experience, for God's sake. Why are people particularly worried? You know, yes, Burnley got relegated and this happened, and well, of course they will. Forest will get relegated at some point because we're in that kind of bracket of club. Marinakis wants to get beyond that, so we're not that team. But it just shows a couple of bad decisions here and there, and you can be right back in it. But I think this is a good decision, a good solid Premiership manager. Look, you can say what you want about him, but I always talk about consistency and how being consistent and keeping a manager takes you such a long way. And Burnley was a classic example of that. You know, from getting changed in that porter cabin to having facilities. I'd not been for 17 years when we went on that last day of the season, and it was a completely different place. And if one man can do that at a club like Burnley, give him some tools, give him some money, and give him a winner, you know, who's going to back him, if that should be the case, then why is there any reason he can't take this club a long way as well?
You said it there, Des. Give him the money. At Everton, he didn't get the money because people before him, like Ancelotti and who were the other one?
Silva.
Yeah, Marco Silva. Like those sort of managers got given the money and bought the odd bit of dross that then people have had to come in and try and sort out and change. And he's not been given that big, strong financial backing. Where I think he'll get that. If you stay up this year, I think next year, Mr. Marinakis will say, look, that we're going to give you this. This is what you've got to work with, etc. Anything from player sales, just because of position-wise and things like that. And one thing people do forget is that he was at Burnley for 9.5 years. 7.5 years of that was spent in the Premier League. That for a team that does barely has a pot to piss in and can still somehow compete with the best when we are just a little tiny, you know, speck on the toilet, really, in terms of a team. You know, we are small town.
And you always sold your best players.
We did.
If you had a good player, they would get sold for a massive profit.
We did.
And then he'd go again.
Dyche found a way, and he'd still find a way to get it going and you know, bring that next one in. So I think a lot of people are putting two and two together. He'll bring the old Dyche team back, or he'll bring players in that he's played with before. I don't think he will. I think you've got your ceiling is higher already, even for where you are at. So I think in terms of the caliber of player that you're wanting to bring in, Dyche is going to go for that sort of caliber. He's not going to go for the similar caliber to what he's got used to. And also, I think it's good to change. I didn't want Scott Parker because of it. You look back at his career, it's been shite when it comes to the Premier League. But already he has stood the test of time, even after 9 games, and done so much better than Vincent Kompany. So, like I said, I'll go back to my original comment. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. A great appointment for Forest. And my only bugbear is that obviously I love the man to bits, but if he can carry on what Andrew doing, that'd be perfect, so that we can stay up. That's what's in here. That's what's in here. But no,
we're still rivals, Dan. We're still rivals. We're not going to.
Yeah, of course we are. We're you know, at the moment we are relegation rivals. So,
yeah.
But I want him to do well, mate. I want him to do well, and I want it to work out for him because I think he's a great guy, and I wanted him to shut the naysayers up.
Dan, quick question. Can Burnley stay up after your fantastic 2-0 win? Was it 2-0 against Leeds? Can they stay up?
Yeah. Yeah. Ask me again after Sunday when we beat Wolves.
Oh, that's 6 points. That's definitely a free.
Well, we've got Wolves away, Arsenal at home.
Forget about that. They've not won it. They've not won it.
No, they've only not even got 3 points.
Bloody hell.
Mrs. has got more than that in her license. But, got the same amount of chips on a windscreen anyway.
Dan, they'll get kicked out. She watching the stream. Hope you get kicked out for that.
Nah, she's chilling.
Okay.
Probably sleep.
Last one, I've not asked Glenn. Same question for you, Glenn. Can Forest stay up and kick on with Dyche in charge?
Yeah, Yeah, I think to answer your question about the low block and the way we're going to play to battle down and turn both those, you were talking about fundamentals, Dan. Strong, fit, and organised. What you mentioned earlier on today, and I think those three things are what we're going to need to test all the way through the season. If we stay fit enough and organised enough, we'll have enough. I've still got this feeling and memory from the last time we had a red and white pinstripe shirt. Dore, you remember this? Maybe Des definitely would. We're too good to go down. I don't think that's the situation this time, because we've got a manager that's prepared and ready for these sorts of battles. I do think that he's going to be given another string to his bow with the players and the quality that we've got going forward. But I think he's ready to put the confidence in the players, and that's already started today, about how well he's seen them play and how much he thinks they can return to that sort of standard. The consistency he mentioned about how much he wants them to pick up and take those opportunities. The amount of times that Woan, particularly Stone, was talking about the crispness of the pass and the pace of the pass, and they're just getting those players just playing a little bit better in midfield and getting that ball up to the big lad. I didn't see Wood in training today. Did anyone else? I hope he's not a reaction to that injury.
You know, one thing that's not been said actually as well is I think he'll do wonders working on set pieces as well.
Oh, we need that.
We need that.
It will work wonders on set pieces. And Farhad, to answer your comment, it was me on my burner account earlier that asked Dore for that 50 quid, so don't worry about it.
No. It was full of Alan. Go away. You're not. I said to you, I'll pay you monthly. So you just got a little bit. I know all that. It's been a pleasure, Dan. Thank you very much for giving your insight on Dyche.
Anytime. I've got a bit of useless trivia about you for Tony Loughlin. This is from memory as well, so someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any player ever to play for Forest with a better goal scoring record. He played 2 games and he scored on his debut.
Who?
Tony Loughlin.
Who's that? Who's Tony Loughlin?
Who's Tony Loughlin?
Just your first team coach, mate. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. God, man. No, it's Roy King's mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he played for Forest and he played 2
All
games.
of them did. All of them did, but the goalkeeper.
Yes, but he only played 2 games for Forest. And he scored against Wimbledon.
What year was that?
It would have been around 89, 90 probably. I remember it. But somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But he scored in 50% of his games for Forest.
Bloody hell.
Can you beat that?
Wow. I learned something every day. This is why I've got Des on here, people. He always gets things like Des is the oldest person on here, I think. I think he is.
No, just the most knowledgeable. I'm joking.
No. Sorry, Glenn is most. That's why what he does is most knowledgeable. So, but yeah, no worries, Glenn. I just thought I was. Right. It's been a great show, people. Like I said, Dan, thank you very much for taking your time to come on the show. Make sure everyone subscribes to Dan's show. Like I said, all the information that is gave, it's been top notch. Make sure everyone follows Des and Glenn on social medias. And know Des does his as we travel as well. So make sure everyone follows him. But yeah, it's been a great show, and this is the start of the season. And like I said, people, if you do remember when Steve Cooper was in charge, it was all 3 of us, and that ended up well, and hopefully this can end up well as well with Dyche in charge. And this question as well from Justice Rustin, it's 1991, Des. Yeah,
I knew it was around then.
Yeah, so yeah, told you. If you know, ask Justin. But I appreciate everyone as well. Make sure you do hit the like button, subscribe. I've redirected to Sophie as well for Arsenal fan, and make sure if you can just put some love hearts as well, because she's having a bad time with other things and that. So if you can go to a chat, just put some love hearts from Dore as well. Right, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, like Glenn, Des, and Dan. Can Forest start with a bang at Porto? I think I'll do a stream tomorrow with a Porto game. Can Sean Dyche start Forest in a perfect way? Peace and love up the Forest.